The Catholic Morning Show.
You know, folks, there aren't pigeons around here. I just wanted you to know that last comment I made. Carrier pigeons are awesome, but they're nothing compared to radio, and we're glad to have you here on Iowa Catholic Radio. Thank you for stopping in. I'm Bo Bonner with Deacon Mark Campbell, Ayden, Pugh, and Alexia Baker. All of us very happy you're with us. On the second half of the show, we'll speak with Steve Ray, Catholic convert extraordinaire, about the Patriarch Joseph during his month of March. But right now, let's turn to our first guest of the day in studio, Tom Chapman, Executive Director of the Iowa Catholic Conference. Tom, thanks for coming on the Catholic Morning Show.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Now, of course, we'll eventually get to legislative updates. Of course, you always have that ready to go for us. But you're actually participating in the A to Z conference, Ambrose to Gen Z, April 24th through 26th in Davenport. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about this conference and what you're going to be talking on.
Well, here's what I know about it. They're really trying to reach out to Gen Z and getting their interest in human dignity and what the church has to say about that, and trying to give some sense of hope to people. And they did want to have some kind of local, state aspect to it, so they asked me to be part of one of the keynote or breakouts. But my topic is going to be AI and the church's response to that as it relates to human dignity. So I'm really excited to talk about that. One of the nice things, I would say almost surprising things at the state legislature this year, is they're doing a lot of work to try to put some regulations for AI in place, which, you know, whatever you think about the legislature, we should really commend them for that, because I think AI, you know, is a tool that could be used for good and evil. It's something that we want to really make sure we find some authenticity in it and transparency in it. Pope Leo took the name Leo in part because he was concerned about AI being the new industrial revolution, and the church would have something to say about that. So that conference is coming up April 24th through the 26th.
People can go to www.stambroseofmilan.com/2026 conference. I think if you just look A to Z conference,
you'll find it. No, I did that myself. Yes.
Yeah. And so, of course, you're there.
Yeah.
You're one of the opening acts. What's the big final? You know, you're talking about
no,
this.
the big guy. It's Cardinal Ratcliffe from the United Kingdom, and his topic is really going to be how can we give hope to the young. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that in the sense that I think there are a lot of signs in our society that show maybe we don't have hope as a society. And I think that, we can see why, obviously, all around us. So I'm looking forward to that topic.
Well, it sounds really great. The conference in general, glad that they ask you to go be a part of it, and that's going to be a fascinating topic. So I hope people get to find out more and head over to Davenport if they get the chance. While we have you in studio, so wonderful to have you come by regularly to give us updates on what's going on with the legislature. Real quick, just a note about, if people don't know, what does the Iowa Catholic Conference do, and what are we in the midst of when it comes to the legislature?
The Iowa Catholic Conference is the public policy and advocacy group for the Catholic bishops in Iowa. So I work for the 4 bishops, and basically I'm at the Capitol every day during the session, to work on the things that are of interest in the church and society. So right now, some of the things we're working on is we're hoping to get a bill that would regulate abortion pills to the floor for debate. And one of the reasons we're concerned about that is right now you can just go online very easily within 10 minutes, order abortion pills for $30, and they show up in a baggie 2 weeks later. We don't like abortion at all, but if it's going to take place, we'd like to regulate it where women would at least have a touch point with a real physician. Somewhere in there, we may or may not see that reach the floor for debate this week. There's some problems because, frankly, there are people who really want to ban abortion entirely and make it possible to charge women with first-degree murder, which is a perspective. The major pro-life groups and the bishops really don't support that, but there are some tensions within that issue.
Yeah, the latter half of that. We're all for figuring out how there be no abortions. But
exactly.
The prosecuting side. So yeah, you have a whole span of different groups of people. And so to try to say, yes, we have ideals that we are obviously working towards every day, but if there is a reality, we need to at least make it where it's not the Wild West when it comes to abortion pills.
Exactly right. So we're working on that. There's also a proposal at the Capitol which would take away WIC, which is the nutrition program for mothers, infants, and children. Right now, that's one of the only programs that's available to anyone who's resident in the country if they qualify by reason of income. Right now, there's a proposal to narrow that, and so undocumented people, and actually some people with work authorization, they would no longer qualify for the program. So we're trying to stop that up. So far, we've been successful on that. I think we're raising a lot of questions, because we look at this as very connected to our other pro-life work, and that we're talking about mothers and children and nutrition. And we understand that there has to be regulation at the border, but at the same time, we're talking about feeding moms and kids. So we hope we can stop that up as well.
Absolutely. I know many people, including our family, that WIC was very elemental in helping out, especially in those early days when you seem to have more children than money.
Exactly.
Well, so what else is on the horizon?
I would say the next thing people can kind of watch for is we're doing a lot of work in the education arena in Catholic schools, and there's about 4 or 5 proposals out there which would help Catholic preschools have access to the state preschool program. In many places, in many school districts, there's a great relationship and it works well. Other places, it does not work well. So we're really trying to make sure that somehow Catholic preschools and other community providers would have access to that program if they have a quality program. And so actually a bill passed the Senate yesterday which would do that. That's going over to the House. Another couple big omnibus bills for education include that. So we're going to be working on that as well.
And in that regard, too, when it comes to advocating on behalf of the bishops in the Catholic Church in Iowa during the legislative sessions, it can be sort of confusing, I think, outside looking in, especially here in March, where they're in the middle of a lot of things. So on one hand, there's getting touch points with people as the debates happen, but then there's also one side of the Congress of the legislature passes something, and then they have to pass it to someone else. When can people expect to see some of these things we're reading about and praying about to sort of come to fruition so we can say this did work or it didn't?
I would say probably about 3 to 4 weeks from now, a lot of these things will become more clear. Right now, we're in the process of the legislature is trying to pass things in one chamber and send it to the other chamber. Not resolved yet, finally. And so I think we'll see that in about 3 weeks. What we're going to see, I think, next week is they have the revenue estimating conference, which kind of says how much money they're going to have to put in their budget. Once they get that number, they really start to work on budgets, and then they try to head towards adjournment maybe in mid-April.
So when it comes to, of course, what we can do, praying specifically about the different Catholic-related issues, obvious the first and foremost thing to do. But what is, what are other ways that people have a chance to affect what's going on? How do people maybe reach out to their legislators in hopes of stemming some of the tide or convincing them of some of the things that the Iowa Conference is throwing out there?
Well, the best way to do that is to go to our website at iowacatholicconference.org, and right when you get there, there's a button that says Take Action, and you'll see we have actually sample messages for legislators set up for you on some key issues, and it would only go to your legislator. So you're not blasting everybody. You can use the sample messages. We hope people change them to put them in their own voice. And so really that's the best way to see our newsletter and see what's going on today. That's really of interest to the bishops. And we do try to inform about other big issues that are out there just so people can inform their conscience. The key thing is to get people contacting their legislator, because you would be surprised if you talk to a legislator, sometimes if they get only 4 or 5 emails on something, that raises it to their attention. And so we encourage people to do that.
Well, with about a minute left, is there any other issues coming up, or is there things that we should be on the horizon as Catholics paying attention to when it comes to this session?
Well, when we talk about the legislative session here in Iowa, I think there's been a lot of moves to really say tough on crime, and those things are more easily said than done. Some of them, I would say, are almost more messaging than, really being helpful to society. And certainly the bishops look at the criminal justice system, and they don't support just having more mandatory sentences and just keeping people locked up. Some people need to be locked up, obviously, but we like to have judges have some discretion on that. So I think there's a few proposals along those lines which we're trying to drag our feet constructively on, and so people can look for that as well.
And then, folks, when it comes to this is about the state legislators make sure, that this is state laws. It's easy for people to sort of throw all of their baskets in Catholic politics world into the federal basket. But when it comes to the state, this also sort of plays a municipal politics as well. But is that something that when you get the chance, you let people know that there really is things that we can do at the state level that comport with our Catholic stances?
Yeah, I think that has to do with subsidiarity. And so actually, if someone calls me about a bill, we need to have a statewide bill that does this. The first thing I do ask is, what are you doing at your local level, on your street, in your neighborhood to deal with this, just to find out. Sometimes it's very appropriate to have legislation, at the state level and at the national level, but the church does look at trying to solve problems at the lowest level possible. And so I think that's something people should keep in mind. But, sometimes we need to have the state help, and we definitely, I think, are more effective in what we can do at the state level than at the federal level, which is very difficult to deal with right
Absolutely.
now.
So when people, where should they go in order to find out more about what the Iowa Catholic Conference is up to?
Yeah, always go to iowacatholicconference.org. We put our newsletters up there regularly, very transparent in terms of what we're working on, and that's where our action alerts are that people can decide if they want to get engaged. And you can also use your system, all of our system, to send a message to your legislator on any issue you want. It doesn't have to be something that we're talking about.
Absolutely wonderful. Tom Chapman, Executive Director of the Iowa Catholic Conference. Go to make sure to the A to Z conference happening in Davenport, April 24th through 26th. Tom's going to be speaking there as well. Tom, thank you for coming on the Catholic Morning Show.
Thank you very much.
Listen to the Catholic Morning Show weekdays at 7 a.m. Central on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network, iowacatholicradio.com, or the Iowa Catholic Radio app.